Well, we will find out, won't we? I think they caught that in the
But don't
beginning.
be angry at me if I'm not good. Please
Don't
don't
be
judge me.
angry with you if you're not good, you say to me. I'm just sitting here like a fool. You're the one that put all this together. You're the magic person in the conversation. Give
Explain
me a
it.
break.
All is not
Anyway,
easy.
so
Talking about it.
everybody knows I don't edit. Also, we're just about to begin, but we kind of almost got there a few weeks ago. A wonderful interview, I am sure of it, with pianist Elena Klionsky about your 2022 MSR Classics release of the piano music of Martin Matalon, Dos Formas del Tiempo, with the new Juilliard Ensemble, Joel Sachs, no less, as conductor, Salome Jordania, I suppose, uh, Eva Payer, and Julienne Macedo, instrumentalists you'll describe as we get there, working with you on this piece. Four, as we have said ad nauseum minutes ago, enormous works for piano and other things, and I'm going to list them first, and then we'll start talking, by Martin Matalon. Born in 1958. Oh, did I?
May I just interrupt you
Of
for one
course.
second?
Please do.
The title is not Dos Formas del
Oh,
Tiempo.
that's
It's
right.
just Formas del Tiempo. There's one piece
That's
which,
right.
and it's a very big difference. It just means different um, time,
Yeah.
just different time. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, exactly. And you know what? I worked through that all about 2 hours ago, seeing and reminding myself that. And then I see up here in my notes that I wrote 6 or 7 weeks ago, dos formas. So forgive me, Martin. Forgive me, Elena. We are talking about the album that is called Formas del Tiempo because it has four works, one of which is called Dos Formos del Tiempo, four works that have to do all about, well, really rhythm and times and ooh, it's a stunning and stunningly difficult assemblage of music. Amazing. Here, let me just give the pieces, and then you jump in and shut me up here in a minute, and hope I get through the pronunciations. Trama 4,
trame 4.
thank you. Trame 4, quattro, trame
Quattro.
quattro. Concerto for piano and 11 instruments, composed in 2005 with the new Juilliard Ensemble and Joel Sachs conducting. Probably he's Sachs, right? Not Sachs. It's my English thing. The second piece is Artificios for solo piano from 2000.
Dedicated to me. Written for
He
me.
did, yeah. We'll get there and talk about that one. Composed in 2014. This is the world premiere
Brilliant.
performance, and as is mentioned, it's dedicated to Elena Klionsky, and it's the easiest of the four. I have a feeling. Maybe it's the shortest anyway of the four on the CD,
Shortest.
but there's never any compromise with this guy. That's for sure, right? You will agree on, on that. Okay, the third piece is, in fact, Dos Formas del Tiempo for solo piano. It's from 2000, dedicated to Lorenzo Matalon. That was his father, I think.
That's his son.
His son, thank you.
That's his son.
Lorenzo Matalon, Martin's son. Uh, we'll get there. We'll talk about it. You'll talk about it. But I mean, just enormous, huge. I keep using those words because the breadth of this man's mind is just universes large, I think. I mean, just stunning. And then the last piece, which is the longest piece on the CD, about 22 minutes, La Machina for two pianos, two percussionists, and electronics from 2007. Funny, I made my notes those weeks ago, and I was thinking, and we'll talk about it. I was thinking I was hearing the electronics, and now listening to it again some weeks later, some of the places where I wrote down that I thought I was hearing electronics, I'm not so sure about anymore. And then there are passages that are wonderful. But the point is, it's absolute magic. Let's see if I can do this. Salome Jordania again.
Jordania.
Piano, sorry. I'm on my Spanish kick. Eva Payar, we discussed, percussionist. Julian Macedo, percussion. Percussion one, percussion two. And David Adamczyk. Adamczyk? Yeah, sound designer. Ooh, what a master. So subtle, so subtle. Anyway, okay, now let's talk about Elena very quickly, of course, because we got four major works to discuss. Began playing piano at the age of 5. You're a native of St. Petersburg in Russia. Gave your first public performance, et cetera, at a young age. So we can expect plenty of you now. Upon your family's relocation to the United States, you have mentored with Isaac Stern. Yeah, stop me if I'm in trouble yet. Scholarship at Juilliard School of Music. In high school at the High School for the Performing Arts, I would have given my left leg in high school to have had that kind of an opportunity. Maybe not, but I
It
would
was
have.
a hell of a school. It
Yeah,
really
I'll bet it
was a
was.
hell of a school.
I'll bet it was. And you're a Steinway artist since 2008. You record for Steinway's new Spirio player
Yeah.
piano. That's interesting. In other words, you prepare the roles, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
but it's not roles anymore.
of course.
It's computerized, whatever. It's a brand new
Silly me.
and you record on that. Yeah, it's interesting. That was an experience in itself.
And you have studied at Juilliard, as I've said, and so on. I think I have bachelor and master's degrees, pre-college division, and then bachelor of master's degrees there at Juilliard.
Spent my entire life there, pretty much.
Was it
Pre-college,
bad or good?
fantastic.
Yeah, because sometimes,
Fantastic.
sometimes it can be a whole lot of pressure, but you
It was.
sure,
It was,
and that's
I
the
actually
fantastic part.
took a semester off somewhere in between. I just
Yeah.
practiced and I did some other stuff because, same people, same building,
Yeah.
windows don't open, people don't speak English. It was just and very, very competitive. So I had to take just some time off. But I still ended up coming there every day to practice, and they have the best practice rooms on earth.
Oh,
I
really?
dream of having one, and I
Wow.
can't build. They have a floor. Juilliard has a whole floor of just practice rooms, and there's nothing there. There's a piano and a chair, and they're soundproof. And you sit there. There's no interruptions. Nobody's bothering you. No phone calls. We didn't have cell phones back then. Nothing. It was just hard practice, 8 hours a day. That was great.
I was at Cal Arts for a while, and I was the first conductor there. But the point is, Cal Arts, being California, was a kind of a different whole aesthetic. Floor to ceiling windows. You could be distracted by the trees outside. All kinds of stuff. It's so interesting about that sort of Spartan environment in New York City, if you will. Let's get the work done
I
now.
don't think it's New York. I think it's the people that attended Juilliard, especially at that time.
No nonsense.
Russians, from Asia, a lot of people from Asia, Europe, not many from here. Not many people speak English there in our day.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Music Academy of the West, or it's now called the Music Academy, Santa Barbara. Same thing. The students from around the world that are assembled there, and they're there to not waste a single minute.
They don't, right, exactly. We didn't have any opportunities even to do other things. You just work, 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 work.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic.
Okay, ready? Because we're
Yeah.
going to talk about these four pieces in detail. You're going to talk mostly about them. I'm going to throw you my usual, what I do, as everybody knows now, I do my stream of consciousness typing while I'm listening. And then try and make sense of it later. And then later still, I have to distill it all into a written review that makes sense. But so that's the format. And I don't believe I've ever had so much stream of consciousness in the past several albums that I've done, because these go on for pages. Yeah, actually about 2 pages per piece, and that's what we're talking about. Just amazing, amazing. So, pronounce treme again. Is it treme? Trame. That's where I'm missing it. Okay, trame. Thank you. It's a little tricky, if I may make alibis for myself. Treme 4. Oh, I'm never going to get that one. This is the Concerto for Piano and 11 Instruments from 2001 with the new Juilliard Ensemble and Joel Sachs and so on. Before I swallow my tongue in disbelief about what I heard. By the way, a live performance
live performance.
because there was no hope of ever doing it again right. You know what I mean? It either happens or not.
That day, actually earlier for our final, we played through it just in case we had to, but we didn't have any accidents. We
Wow.
started together, we ended
Just
together.
a stunning performance, and just a little quote, a little program note from you. The generic name Treme, I'm in Trouble Forever, is inspired by a poem of the same name by Jorge Luis Borges, which unveils for us the synchrony that exists among all elements, constituting universal history. What a profound thought that is, the synchronicity of our universal history, if you will. It comprises 5 continuous movements, and that's important because it's about a 16, 17-minute piece, and within that continuous through composed, if you will, piece are 5 distinct, did I say 5 distinct sections? Variations, or better still, reinterpretation is the main idea of each section. That's why it moves so flawlessly, I think. Now that you mentioned, now that I'm rereading this note, it's just a beautiful piece. Let me do a couple, not too many, or it'll go on forever. A couple of my stream of consciousness impressions, and see what comes back in your mind and how close or not I was, and then tell me about this. And by the way, we also need to know how you ran into Martin, and how that all worked. So, okay, here's what I have, and I'm just going to dance around because there's too much here for now. Instantly fascinating. Instantly fascinating from the get-go, with all sorts of blowing, fingering sounds on the clarinet. All bloody hell then breaks loose as the piano enters like a firebird. I don't think of that section where it ascends elegantly. This is like some kind of wild, fiery creature, I'm thinking. And with her over a period of the section, other members of the ensemble, fabulous playing of clearly horrifically difficult music, and that's for all concerned. I mean, it's just a completely virtuosic work. There's no doubt about it. I love it. The atmospherics are incredible. The colors are so intuitive, subtle, and fascinating. Beautifully balanced by Joel Sachs. I mean, in other words, that kind of repertoire is very tough to keep balanced. Let's see. Counterpoint, colliding structures, are all fabulously composed. So much, so thrilling, and every note in all the ensemble intricacies, as we've discussed, conceived by the composer, are exactly, to my mind, where they should be. We talked about that earlier. Well, a little bit more, and just it goes on too long, but and there are jazz-ish elements that I hear. Matalon is Argentinian, I think we may have mentioned. So there's all of that tremendous rhythm, and I think that's what keeps it all together and makes it so exciting for even first-time listeners to this kind of very complex contemporary music. And as we've agreed, somehow it all fits. Somehow it almost is, as somebody said about him, almost is Mozartian. And now that I'm on my 3rd or 4th listen, it's making all kinds of good, you'll forgive the expression, tuneful sense to me, and that's very important. You know what I mean? There's just something that works. Okay, I guess I'd better stop and let you come and tell me first about meeting Martin, and then also about this piece, for example.
Well, he comes from a very interesting background. He is from Argentina, born in Argentina. His father was from I'm sorry, I lost it. They're both, his mom is Lebanon and his father is Syrian.
Wow, interesting.
So they're very, just different cultures. There's so much in him. There is this Middle Eastern and then Argentinian, the tempos, the crazy sort of, just tempos.
Yeah.
And he keeps pushing faster. You got to go faster. There's only so much faster that our fingers can go, but he likes it fast. And then he came here. He went to Juilliard. He's a lot older than me, but I met him at Juilliard. Right when I started, he was already doing his doctoral degree.
Wow.
So we kind of became friends. We have mutual friends that sort of introduced us. Um, I was scared of his stuff at first.
I don't blame
Certain
you. Are you
piece
kidding?
piano scores, and I was like, no, I'm not playing this. I'm not dealing with this, not playing it. And very slowly, I took. Joel Sachs is actually a scholar of 20th century, now 21st century composers. He wrote books. He's brilliant, and he taught at Juilliard also. So I took his class. We had to learn, each one of us had to learn a piece and then do it in class in front of everybody. And sort of he explained things because I was not sure what to do about it all. Martine's teacher was a phenomenal composer, Vincent Persichetti.
Yes, I know very well Persichetti. Yeah.
He was the most fantastic person, great composer. I think his piano concerto, which is not played often,
No, that's right,
is a fantastic piece, on par with all the big concerti.
Hmm.
So
I must run back and give a listen again. But
there's
yes,
only one recording of it.
Persichetti was.
I'm going to do another one. There's only one, which was done when the concerto was just
no doubt
composed.
Yeah.
I'd love to record that.
And I remember him mostly for chamber music, and I conducted a large wind ensemble for a while. And there's a wonderful suite for wind. I think it's a suite for wind ensemble. I just sensed right away that just from the music that he was, as you have just described, just a wonderful human being.
He's a wonderful human being. I met him. I mean, I saw him with Martine many times at Juilliard. You know, walking and walking. And one day I saw him in the subway, New York subway. He comes over to me, takes off his hat, and he says, "Vincent Persichetti, at your service, ma'am." And it was just, you know, he was wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful. Now, the great thing about him, for me, he was a pianist before he composed. So he composed in a very comfortable way. Comfortable, you know, it fits into your fingers. Martine, on the other hand, is a flute player, had no clue about piano. And in the beginning, that there were times when he composed for 3 hands, and I had to show him that I only have 2. We joked about it, but he did not understand. Like, the knowledge was there, probably emotions were there, but thinking about piano was not his thing.
Was this all before the pieces on this album?
Well, it's always been like that.
Okay, so that's very, very interesting.
Pieces that I have done at Lincoln Center, there are 5 pieces called monotypes, 5 monotypes for piano. And that was just written all over the place. So I tried to explain to him what fingers are, how many I have. You know, it was rough.
Wow.
I played that, and I enjoyed it. Like, at the end, I enjoyed it. And so I started on this project, which took a long time. This CD has probably taken the longest time for a project that anybody could take. But, and I think this concerto, Trame 4, is the most difficult piece to play.
I'm not surprised.
Counting was just brutal counting. And learning it was actually interesting. I took so much time with each page, counting and writing and marking and metronome, the whole thing. And I just could not do it. So I panicked. I got my babysitter to come and stay with us for 2 weeks. and I learned the entire concerto. She took the kids off of my head, off. I didn't think of anything except practicing, probably
Wow.
hours and hours. And in fact, Trauma 4 is mostly, I'm not saying all of it, but I had to play from memory because it's
Of
impossible
course,
to
yeah. Now that
a
you mention
score.
it,
Memorizing that is not easy. We were not taught, people get scared of this stuff because we were trained in Bach, Beethoven, Schubert,
yeah, yeah.
and it fits into your fingers and harmonies. If you play a wrong note, you hear it.
Mhm.
If it's supposed to be an F sharp, it's in the key, you know it. Here, you don't know anything. And it took, it's hard. But on the other hand, if you play Beethoven, whom I love, but everybody compares you to this recording or that recording, and you feel kind of insecure sometimes. With this, you don't. You can do whatever you want. You bring it to life. And that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that's very, very interesting for me. It was challenging, obviously, technically, but you also bring it to people. You sort of show them what it is, what it's all about. And it's not scary. Like, people don't want to go to concerts when there's a lot of contemporary stuff there. This isn't scary, actually.
Nothing on the CD is scary in that sense whatsoever, and yet it's
It's pleasant.
wildly contemporary, and yet it's wildly tuneful in a crazy way, and rhythmic and fun and all the rest of it. He's hit the sweet spot in every possible way.
I think the concerto is the best piece on the program. I love it. I like it all, but Machina, for example,
I was
was.
just going to mention Machina because I love that piece too, and it's
But
wonderful.
Machina, to record that is easy because we all had a beat in our ear.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
And that's
wow.
how you practice it with a metronome at that speed.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know it. You go a bit further, you go a bit faster, so that when you play, it's kind of comfortable.
And,
The concerto was not. The concerto, the counting was brutal.
you're really setting this up for people to run out and
You
buy the
have to be
score.
Einstein to do
Yeah,
this.
no, that's what's so extraordinary, and that's why I kind of made the little jest about that. This is a recording of a live performance, and what I meant earlier when we were talking is that you just cross your fingers and bams, it's as good as it's ever going to get. You know what I mean? It was just a miracle.
Joel Sachs is absolutely
Absolutely.
brilliant. He spent, I think, 2 times with me, just the two of us, and I played for him, and he conducted, just so that I can get a feel for
Yes.
what he will do or what I would do. He had to know. I also think that I'm a very romantic person and a romantic pianist. And so I try to find, even in Martine's pieces, I try to find some hidden melodies or something that'll touch people's hearts. Martine composes sort of vertically. He likes the sound, he likes the resonance
Mhm.
this way, but I like it that way. I like the melodies. I like, so I was trying to bring that into it.
And as
Uh,
we both know, there can be this exact same contemporary piece. I'm thinking of a piece by a composer friend of mine, Icarus for piano. The composer is John Carbon. Icarus for piano. I've heard 5 or 6, recordings from performances. You know what I mean? That John sent me, and it was gobbledygook. And then one man, I can't remember who, at Rice University, I think, pianist. I want to say Brown or something like that, figured out the melody, figured out how tuneful it was, and it was just a gorgeous performance. And so you see what I'm trying to say. Uh, you 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 have provided an additional service in getting. I hear a little echo, but I think we're okay in getting to the the romance, if you as you just described, of these pieces, and they are. He's Argentinian after all.
He's Argentinian, and that, the only problem I had with, well, I had a lot of problems with him, but he wants everything faster.
You mentioned that.
And it's like, how fast can you do it, you know? But
and
he
that's
likes,
after you've told him. That's after you've told him you don't have three hands.
no, I only have two. I try to explain. He's a very emotional person. Everything is drama. I play one wrong note and it's already, oh my God, you can't play my stuff.
You know, that's such a horrible,
you know. He's a tough person.
But genius is like that.
Genius is, yeah, no, he is. He's an incredible talent.
Yeah, and I just saw one photograph of him conducting, something like that. And the intensity of just that one photograph was astonishing. And I knew right away we had somebody really special and eccentric, I'm sure.
Yes, he's eccentric. He's a very, very warm person. Nice. Just incredible heart. Nice. But the temper and, you know, he's so talented. And he has composed so much. He's actually young, fairly young.
Yeah.
But Trame, for example, I don't know how many exactly he has, but Trame is like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, it goes on and on. It's solo concerti for pretty much every instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he composed operas. Yes, he composed a big opera, I would say in 2015, that went around France, basically in every opera house.
Wow.
Yes.
Of course, they're much more attuned to contemporary opera in Europe, you know, and scheduled in the big houses. But still, there you go. I had not yet had a chance to look at his complete catalog, so thank you. I'll go back and have a look.
He's one of the people that really works hard, and he produces so much stuff, different stuff. He did a fantastic thing. I don't know if you know the old film Metropolis.
Oh, the old one.
The old
yeah.
one.
Yeah. So he composed music for it, right?
He composed music for it.
Because it's a silent film.
That is a sight, because you have an orchestra playing live.
Yeah.
And they had it on a wall of Pompidou Center in Paris with the orchestra, and it was projected on the wall. So it was, and I saw it twice, I think.
So he's huge. You know, he's getting picked up occasionally in the exact right areas. The Pompidou Center.
Yes, he composed for films, for a couple of films. Yeah. He composed a concerto for every, I think, instrument, operas, pretty much everything in every genre.
Wow. So does he have a social life? I couldn't resist that, because an opera alone, you know.
He has like 2 friends from the old days from Juilliard, and the rest of the problem is not many people can conduct his stuff. Yeah. So he travels around and conducts it. He really traveled everywhere. He even went to St. Petersburg, to my birthplace. He conducted in Moscow, everywhere.
Nice. Huge.
So he just works, and you can't talk to him while he's composing. So that can take months.
Oh. It's somehow so New York City also. You know what I mean? All these...
He's not a New Yorker, though.
Is he in Boston? Did I misunderstand?
In Paris. He lives in Paris.
Oh.
He was at the end of Juilliard, at the end of his doctorate degree. He went to Pierre Boulez to study and conduct there, and so he went to Paris and he didn't come back.
Okay, that all makes perfect sense.
So he's there in Europe with all, you know, and he just composes.
Which is same thing. Paris, you know, is kind of New York City east in the sense of the composers, and they're in their cells, and the snow is coming down.
Yeah, he's in his cell. He's in his cell. He just works. No social life, no fun. He doesn't have the time for it, and I would love to be that way.
I would not.
I would love it. I was always dreaming of it. I'm
Oh, that,
jealous.
yeah.
But being a woman and a mom,
Uh,
I was distracted. Sometimes. I had a few small distractions here and there.
I'm sure the kids are kids or kid.
I have two kids.
The kids are now used to you referring to them as a distraction.
Look, I had them homeschooled also,
Oh.
so I really, they were a big distraction. But they're also a huge support.
Yeah.
Humongous, because they understand what I've been through, they understand what I have to do. They check on me how long I've practiced. They check on me what I'm up to. They make sure to do all the technology stuff for me, the copying, the
There
sending,
you go. Yep.
the Skyping,
Okay, so they're worth something anyway.
definitely.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Artificios for solo piano, 2014 world premiere on this recording.
Yeah.
It's dedicated to Elena. And let me just do this little reading here. I chose to underline the importance of register, how the same lines employed in two extremes of the piano would imply a totally different perception of the material and create polarities, density, lightness, black and white, opacity, and crystalline. Nice.
English is not that great, by the way.
Mine? I know that. I know my English.
Okay.
I knew that, but I couldn't resist. I've been trying to save myself since the beginning of this interview. Let me do my a little bit of my stream of consciousness thing just to give you an idea of what I experienced those weeks ago. And then I do have a follow-up notes to myself, but I'm not going to bother tonight, or we'll be here all night. And again, I've mentioned already the revelations, just grow and grow, and forgive the expression, but indeed the tunefulness of these four pieces just increases. The more I hear, the more my ears hear of it. Okay, piano trills open the piece. Now low register figure, back to the tinkling. Piano sounds are fabulous. By the way, the instrument, are we now in the studio?
Yes, studio.
That piano and the engineering, whoever's in charge of engineering, I've never heard it's a bright, stunning,
beautiful Steinway, beautiful.
gorgeous instrument, gorgeous sound. Let me skip that. I'm hearing, there's this pedal sustain, right, for effect? Or is it something else? That's what I'm asking myself because I wasn't sure when or not, whether.
Yes, definitely the third pedal is involved there.
Okay, yeah. So all that sustain is really wonderful. Um, and I love the way he will have silence for a few seconds and then, then start some new piece of magic. And you said that he wrote for cinnamon. I get it now, big time. Because it's imagery, a rumbling figure in the low register with a high tinkling response, stuff like that. The ramblings of the instrument in this piece are mesmerizing. I love the sound of that instrument, as I said. Or is it the writing I love? I ask myself. Or is it your three hands? We'll never know. You keep that secret. Intense section now. I'm nearing I'm nearing the middle section. Anyway, trills appear to be a motif, even little trill figures. Let's see. I think at the time I'm hearing little hints and fragments from earlier material, which would make perfectly good compositional sense. Mesmerizing movement of notes. The way he moves notes. Entrancing, and at the same time perfectly in place. We've had that discussion over and over again. I love the diminuendo on one pitch. That just he doesn't, as impatient maybe as he is, as Beethovenian as he is cranking out the stuff. He knows when to let it all calm down, which is fabulous. Now there's this last section that is sudden, hard, formidable, rumbling, wandering in the low register, lots of accessory colors, then a long sustain on the last low note chord. I'm asking because I'm hearing overtones. I presume that's the whole point. Magnificent.
Thank you. He's actually not happy with this piece. He kept rewriting and rewriting, and finally I said, stop. He didn't, I don't know why. He said it's not what he would prefer it to be. He doesn't think it's his best sort of work. Now, the way he talks, like the rumblings and the trills, that is all technical stuff. I don't even know when he composes that he thinks about it. I try not to look at it that way. Yes, there are trills, there are different registers, there's a lot, yes, but I just look at it as a very small and perfect love song. Just a little song, just something that rumbles your heart, It's not, I mean, I think the descriptions overall that he puts into the program notes, I'm not too happy with. I think it's too much. And somebody reviewed the CD and said he looked at the notes and he didn't want to listen to the CD. And then he wrote about the piano music and whatever. And he said at the end, this composer is incredible, great, whatever, should not write program notes. They're not good. Like he said it. I think it's too technical. He's trying to describe his own. When he composes, I don't think he thinks of these things. And when he writes notes, he tries to rationalize it. And I don't think it's rational in any way.
Very, very sorry. There's traffic outside, but very well understood what you just said, and I can understand quite well that this kind of a genius, when he decides to write program notes, will give you every machination that came in his mind over 40 years or something. You know what I mean? In other words, it's all very technical. I'm sure that's the way he thinks and so on. If that's
but I don't think he thinks that way. I think he has to write something, and he tries to, there's a trill and there's a cascading whatever, and yes, it's all there, but I don't think it matters. I don't think he composes thinking about those things. I look at the piece as just a nice love song, just a bird, singing to another bird, basically. That's how I look at it. That's how I see it. Again, I'm a romantic pianist. So I try to find, rather than rational, trills and passages and whatever, I just try to look at the big picture and try to find what attracts me to it and what I would like the people to feel. Because if you tell an audience there are trills and cascading sounds and different...
Well, you wouldn't do that anyway in a program note. That's just me and my stream of consciousness. I'll have to arrest my stream of consciousness.
No, but he does that. I don't see I don't know. He does
Usually
that.
They keep their mouths shut. You know how composers are. They keep their mouths shut and let the audience try and figure everything out for 40 years, So they, you know what I mean? I know composers, and they are masters at just keeping quiet, because they get a big delight out of seeing the pretzels.
Some do, and some are control freaks. So some want you to do what they want you to do.
This sounds like Martine in a way, kind of a control freak. Don't roll your eyes like that.
Yes, and it actually we did. Martine was supposed to come to the concert of Trame, and he didn't. He couldn't, and so all we did was without him at all. And I said, "Don't. This is how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I like it. That's how I play. You like it or you don't. That's up to you." So we did that without him. The La Machina he conducted.
Oh.
We did that in Paris. We recorded in the conservatory.
Fascinating.
Yeah, because we couldn't do it.
I'm not sure I saw that he conducted that piece La Machina anywhere in the notes, but that makes it very, very interesting.
Yeah, he said nobody else can do it. He's right, obviously. So we did that in Paris.
Now, by the way, before I move on to the third piece, back to Artificios for a moment. Somewhere in here, because you I want to ask the question because I think this may be important because I have a note somewhere here about that it's just horrifically difficult. It sounds to me to be horrifically difficult. But now that we're talking, this is probably maybe the less difficult of the three, or what? Not that we need a rating schedule, but how difficult was it to put together this piece? The
Solo pieces are easier, obviously, because I don't depend on anyone else. I don't have to count that strictly. This piece was not terribly difficult. How can I say? He has his style doesn't change. So once you can play one piece, you sort of figure out his, not style, his technique, I would say.
aha,
Once you figure that out, it gets easier.
aha. That's also very interesting in terms of this CD altogether. I mean, four of his works. And sure enough, it kind of didn't occur to me until you just mentioned it, but there is just, there's just something about him and the pattern of who he is, Shostakovich, Rachmaninoff, you know what I mean? They all have this kind of, once you kind of figure out what's
once
up
you
with them.
figure out technically, I mean, once you
Yeah.
figure that out, that becomes a bit easier. This piece, I think it was tougher with this piece to figure out what it is and what he was trying to express. Because the following piece is easier that way. There are two dimensions of time.
So let's move on.
Formas del tiempo.
Yeah,
so you sort of know this one is structured, this one is not. And so that was.
Oh, I see what you mean about that. Yes, the structure is in the title in a sense. You going in, you see
two dimensions of time.
Yeah, you have an idea of what he's going to do and where he's going with it, if that makes any sense. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna, without losing any. Hang on, just a second. I was gonna maybe read some stuff from. Oh, he does use the word trills in his program note.
English is not great. So.
Anyway. So yeah, we don't. We'll go on. We'll just move on to my mention of trills in my stream of consciousness stuff. Piano starts a manic let's see. The piano starts a manic rhythmic and fragment figure that gets bigger, more diversely interesting as it moves along. So this one really, it's starting to cook for me. In terms of getting my way through the CD. You play with such incredible confidence and prescience. We've been talking all around the word prescience about structure, organization, color, and then other things. There's a nice little kind of quasi boogie woogie thing. There's some stimulating stuff written to tease the brain. That's the way I put it down. There's stimulating stuff to tease the brain. In other words, it's eminently fascinating for minds that are, want to take the journey with him. And by the way, it's cinematic. It's crazy cinematic. A section that's likely deliberately muddy in the lower register. I wanted to ask you about this. It you know what I mean? It gets to my ears. It has to be deliberately muddied. It's quite compositionally deliberately done. Like some kind of dark quicksand rumbling, practically incoherent, that long pedal sustain, and then there's a new section that glitters at the top. I mean, and then he is off on another direction. Let me try a couple more here just to get down through the piece. Hang on. Well, and we've discussed this. Not a single note seems facile or inconsequential in any way. Every single note. And now we know he's that kind of composer. Everything has to be exactly.
I think so. I think he is that kind of composer.
Here's a section evocative of mysteriousness. This is kind of toward the end, if it rings any kind of memory when you get your chance to speak about it a little bit. Evocative of mysterious infinity, even very repetitious. And also this mastery of slowing. This guy who wants everything faster, when he decides to slow things down, it's extremely dramatic. It's slowing and then more slowing, then a burst of descending notes. You'll remember this in a completely different character. I'm now toward the end. And let's see. hang on, I must have some brilliant thing to say at the end. Not, as we've said, one note repeating for a bit. Here's how I described in my head as I heard it. Repeating for a bit, then fragmenting, both left and right in opposite directions to
Yeah.
bring close to the piece to fine. Tell me about it.
I think this piece actually, to me, I can be totally wrong, is a more philosophical piece.
Mm.
Here we have two dimensions of time, and there are times when we are structured on time, pushed to be faster and faster and faster. And then the second part is where you actually take your time and breathe. Just breathe. And he gave me total freedom, sort of to take as long as I want. You know, he has like long notes with fermatas, but you can take an extra beat. You know, he doesn't care. And it's like thinking about life in a way, the tempos of life, you know, how you can be this, you can be that. And this is very, I think as we get older, that second part, I mean, it's really, the fast part is your childhood and your youth and, you know, everything you're pushing. And the second part is more thoughtful. You know, you sort of stand back and you think about life, about God, about the meaning of life, you know. So it's sort of like you have that time where you play something and then you can say anything about it. Like it can be a question, it could be a prayer. It, you know, it's a very, to me, it's a very philosophical piece.
Good, you've described it exactly right now. You've helped me to understand it a little better as well. And again, the title makes it obvious. These two types of these two forms of life or of time. So.
And I argued with him, but I was right, or he ended up saying that I was right, because the title of this CD is just Dimensions of Time.
Yeah.
It's not just two, because they're, you know, and he, I don't know, I thought that was the title. I loved it. I thought about it and I liked it. But it's really about different dimensions of time.
Well, time. You know, you just set me up now. What was his idea of what the title of the CD should be? I'm wondering.
I don't know, but he didn't like.
He didn't like that?
Not in the beginning, no.
Huh. Well, you never know. Bad days.
You know, composers. Look, my dad was an artist. My dad was a very, very...
Yeah, behind you. We talked before we filmed. That's your father's work behind you. Yeah.
That's my CD cover, the very first CD that I did. Yes. So I know about, like, there are composers and artists that work at home and they create, and then there are people like me that go out on stage. So they're very different. But I remember my father was always also about titles of his paintings. You know, it had to be just right. It had to be exactly what he was trying to express. So Martin, he couldn't think of a title, but I like this because I do think there's so many dimensions of time in this CD.
Yes. Yeah.
So many. And the last piece.
Let's go there now. Let's go there now.
La Macchina is a strange one because the dimension of time is not. You play with a metronome.
Let me just jump in for a second before you begin to discuss, because I want to read the title. It's very important that we're now at the last piece. This is like 22 minutes long. I think it's a huge, multi-section.
Longest one.
Through composed but multi-sectioned, has multiple sections to it. La Macchina for two pianos, two percussionists, and electronics. 2007. And now, sorry to interrupt, but just so that people understand, because we're going to talk a little later about certain things that I hear there. Yeah.
I don't know. La Macchina was not one of my favorite pieces here. There's too much in there because his concept of time, which is always, you know, it's in all of his pieces, But if you combine that with a metronome, with a beat in your ear constantly, you're lost. Or I don't know. It's a fun piece. It was fun. Salome Jordanier is a brilliant, brilliant young pianist. Her grandfather really was a fantastic conductor that started off my career. Her grandfather gave me my first professional concert. I played with the Chattanooga Symphony Orchestra with him, with her grandfather, on the same program as Itzhak Perlman. He put
Not
me on
bad.
in front of 15,000 people. I was at Juilliard still.
Were you not to say ready, but were you terrified? I hope you say yes, because I mean that had to have been a
I don't
huge.
think anyone who tells you they're not terrified is honest.
Yeah.
Everything is scary.
But
I played an interesting piece. I played Beethoven's Choral Fantasy,
hmm
which is a sketch of the Ninth Symphony.
yeah.
And I played it from memory, of course, but it has the orchestra, the chorus, the four soloists, singers, and me. So it was wild. 50,000 people, and it's Perlman standing in the back. Yes. But she's brilliant. She is absolutely talented.
I can't. I have now that you mention it, two pianos, and I basically hear one all the time. You know the compliment.
It was two, and it was very hard with her. But she came to Paris. She's from Georgia, the country.
Oh,
of
the
Georgia.
country. Oh,
Uh-huh. She's
that's better.
Georgian. Yes, yes, yes. And so she came, and I invited her. I thought it was a good opportunity for her to, because I don't think she's ever played anything contemporary before.
And so you just threw her at this.
Well, we worked on it, yeah, but I wanted to give her a chance.
Yeah.
Her grandfather gave me a chance.
That's right.
And I loved him. He died too young, way too young. And he was a very talented conductor. And so I love her, and I gave her a chance, and I think she did very well.
No, absolutely.
She was brilliant, professional, knew her stuff, talented, and just picking up everything, the whole atmosphere, the whole recording, she loved it. She's wonderful.
Well, what I love so much, obviously, and what people will love about this particular piece is the use of percussion. I mean, it's just lots of mallet percussion, all that magical mallet percussive sound, the colors. I mean, it's really a magical piece. The colors he has command of in percussion are incredible. And at some point, I refer to a kit, a jazz kit band, but of course it isn't. It's actually snare drum and suspended cymbal, with one player, I presume. And this piece I found a little more more fun, actually, more kind of playful, jazz, rhythmic thing is going on with the drum kit. That's what I called it, to remind myself of that kind of sound. While you run you run fabulously amok, I say to myself, in hails and showers and splinters of keyboard wonderment, distant, fabulous, and so on.
Salome too. It was her as well. It was two pianos.
Yeah, of course. I should keep remembering that.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. I'm just not. I love the other three pieces. This one, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I love it. I enjoyed it. I hope people enjoy it. It had a lot. You have a lot to think about there. And I think it's more having the metronome there keeps you so.
I see, yeah.
Like in a box.
Yeah, I gotcha.
There's nothing you can do because you can't. So it was an interesting experience for me, but I wouldn't say I love it.
And of course, I didn't know about the metronomic restrictions. In other words, the strict
Oh,
metronomic
well,
thing,
you have
because it felt
electronics,
so easy. It felt so
but
flowing and easy.
electronics you have to have,
Of course, that
otherwise
was one of my questions, how that all fit in, because it's always tricky.
it was very tricky. Metronome, the pianist, and well, no, I think all of us had a metronome in our ear.
Well, no
And
wonder you didn't like it. I can quite understand that. But
I,
it comes off very, very well.
it's it's not as, to me anyway. I think some pieces are more philosophical, emotional. This one is not. I don't see it that way.
But it's fun. Come on now.
It's fun. It's fun.
And
It's a
very
lot of
rhythmic,
fun.
very Argentinian, I think. I mean, it's kind of like he sneaks back to that. Okay, here we go. Among many strengths of the writing and the performance by this ensemble, magic, more magic going on. I'm referring to all the colors, when you bring in two percussionists and all that. And then the electronic sounds are good. It's compositionally and structurally, it's fabulous writing. The effects, electronic and percussive, make this piece a glory. It's a drop-dead masterpiece, even if you all had to have metronomic things in your head to make it, in your ears to make it work. And it's mainly, in my view, it's because it's so entertaining, especially to first-time listeners. And I don't mean entertaining and silly. I mean just this monumental work, that is also a little playful, a little fun, has plenty of rhythm to kind of keep you dancing in your seat and stuff like that. That's why I did enjoy it very much. And all the silly stuff, the thunder sheets, that are used, I do believe, at one point. Piano rumbling darkly, all kinds of organized Charles Ives contradictions. I'm thinking to myself as I'm hearing it. Painting a wonderfully mad storminess, that whole storm, if you will, storm section. Yeah,
you know what? That I agree with. It was a bit maddening. That's the feeling no, seriously, that's the feeling I think I had doing that piece. It's kind of overwhelms you.
I don't doubt it.
It's a lot.
And it's also 22 something minutes long.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it went by very nicely, those 22 minutes. And I think even for an audience that's inexperienced with this kind of concerto.
I think so. I think people shouldn't be scared of stuff like this. This is not, it's very accessible to people. If you just open up and enjoy it, it's really enjoyable.
Yes, absolutely. This is, that's why, and to me, the idea of a contemporary piece, as complicated as this is, that goes on for 22 minutes or more, that's an invitation for an audience to be bored spitless. And I don't think
they would be in this.
No, it's not going to happen here. That's what I meant. Let's see. I'm waiting to jump up and dance to this rhythmic cacophony. Unbelievably difficult for sure. Come on, agree. Yeah. And as you said, with everybody having to have a metronome plugged into there, just to keep everything going, including that tricky stuff when to allow the electronics to happen when they're supposed to. I love it all, and a tricky rhythmic figure to bring it full crash. I'm at the end here. This tricky rhythmic figure to bring it full crash. Then a strange, mysterious. Speaking of maybe something about his being a little older or something. The strange, mysterious, amorphous last few bars that will give you chills.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. I'm not, you could be looking right back at me right now and saying, that is the silliest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Give you chills? What are you talking about?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. Martine's music, or I tried anyway, I tried to bring, just as I play Chopin or Beethoven, you try to get your audience sort of caught up, so you want them with you on the journey of this piece, right? So what you want to do is, what I attempt to do always, is to figure out what it is that this brings out in me. What feelings does a certain piece bring out in me? And then I try to bring that to my audience. With this, I also tried because it's not all cacophony. It's not all crazy. It also has very strong feelings. And that's what I try to bring out in people. And I think for as long as that piece is, or any piece, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, I did succeed, or at least I tried to take people out of their sort of everyday lives into another planet, probably into another world.
Absolutely, and that's the whole object of why we do
That's the
this.
whole object of
That's
everything.
the
But
whole thing.
contemporary music, it's very hard to do with,
Oh
at
yes.
least some of it. This, I think, is either I was able to do it or I hope I was able to do it. But I was trying to do that.
Oh, you succeeded, definitely. And you also mentioned earlier, you already gave it away that you were mad. It wasn't just a mad piece; you were mad. Uh, so, in other words, you worked through that. And now that I'm clear from what you've described, that necessity to have this ticking metronome thing, and the idea that you can't, you have no, you are in fact in a box. Well, again, in praise of Martin, it's a wonderful box he put you all in terms of the colors and the sounds and the effects and especially the mallet instruments. They're so magical, and he captures that magic that those instruments are capable of, and the other percussionists. And then, as we've all mentioned in the review, the electronics guy added just the most delicious, like a stuff here and there. Nothing crazy or egomaniacal.
It's not crazy. No,
Yeah.
his electronics were not crazy.
So
No,
so
it was a good experience. It was also personally for me, this CD is sort of the beginning of another life for me. I've started early. I told you I went to Juilliard, the whole thing, started there at 10, graduated at 24, the whole 9 yards. But I had, as I told you earlier, an injury, a very severe injury to both of my hands, shoulders, hands, arms, everything. And so I recorded this in between 13 surgeries.
I'm so glad you bring this up again because I remember it now from our
No,
earlier
to
conversations.
me, I was very insecure
Mm.
because I couldn't tell if technically I am up to anything. I lost everything. Technically, I could not play anything. And so you basically start from scratch. 13
Wow.
surgeries on both hands, wrists, shoulders, elbow, finger, you name it, I had it. And so I still did it. I went through surgeries, recordings, back to surgeries, back to recordings. And then I showed it to one conductor who I respect incredibly. And I said, look, please tell me honestly, do I sound professional or not? Because I had no idea. I lost track of everything. I just started from scratch. So to me, this is a new beginning. And I think technically I've gotten, to where I was. I think even better. I have to be honest. I think I got a bit better. Maybe because I'm older and I don't panic about anything anymore.
Maybe, and also maybe repaired things might be stronger.
Bionic woman.
Well, I mean, in a way, I have my own little. Okay, it was silly. Well, I can tell you this. I don't know. I think it would have been that it was in a way madness. This repertoire, you're going to recuperate from 13 surgeries, putting recordings together of this repertoire. It's like, come on, let's do a little Mozart, number 7 concerto. Give me a break.
Yeah,
So,
but I don't know. I wanted it. It was just, that's how it happened. So that's how I wanted it. And I did everything the way that it felt good for me. For example, you mentioned the piano, the solo. It's a wonderfully sounding, beautiful Steinway. It actually belonged to my very, very first American piano teacher in pre-college. And
Nice.
I loved that man. I became a teaching assistant to him after I finished, and I loved him. He was just an interesting man. So that was something that kept me warm, you know?
Well, he knew how to pick his instruments. That's apparently clear. And I hope the word bright is not inappropriate. You know how I can see use words that are not
It's just a very
adequate.
solid piano. Like the bass has,
Yeah,
it has meat to it.
yeah. But that high register, and I presumed it might have been some of the recording engineering too. You know how the magic people can really
Maybe
discover it. But I just love the sound of that instrument.
that
Um,
instrument is beautiful.
so, well, where are we? What else? What's going on? And then we'll kind of wind it down. Anything big coming up? You said your life has changed. Come on now, you're going to do the
I
complete
think
what?
it's sort of the second half, I guess. I don't know.
By the way, what you described about how you dealt with this whole thing sounds to me very much about how we become as we get older and more mature. In my case, I just sit down. First of all, I'm determined not to panic about anything anymore. Even when they take me to the nursing home, I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to, say, okay, fine. What's for dinner? But that kind of thing. Just we're fine. The theater, the drama of it all is done. It's just like, it is what it is. Let's
It
move
is
on.
what it is. And I realized in time, because at Juilliard, it was like everything had to be perfect,
Yeah,
technically, whatever. And now I look back, I say, if I play a wrong note, is anyone going to die? No.
quite.
No, but seriously,
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm sorry to say, but
So,
things happen,
yeah.
but you don't worry about that I mean, I do want to play right notes. I want to, obviously, but you put everything into perspective as you get older, I think. And I'm writing a book actually, it is done. A book of piano exercises, how to come back from injuries, because I
Perfect.
had 13 times to do it. I figured out which
Wow.
exercises are good, which ones are not. Plus, there's also a lot of, again, injury wise, it's writing, just supporting people, because I've had so many phone calls from people who had an injury, small one, but they say, how do I come back? Am I going to come back?
Mhm.
And so I write about how to cope, what happens with certain things, like after surgeries, with casts, for example. The longer you have a cast, the tougher it is to get,
Sure.
work out certain uh,
Because the muscles have all kind of atrophied if you're in
muscle
a cast for
atrophy
such.
very fast. But I try to write all that because I panicked a lot. I didn't know what will happen. I didn't know if I can come back. I had no clue what was happening to me. And doctors can't tell you either. They are not pianists, they're not musicians.
Yeah.
One of my surgeons said to me, okay, the cast comes off today. You can do a concert, tomorrow. No, that takes about a year.
They don't get it. They think, oh, you're an entertainer. We'll take the cast off
Well,
and you
they
can run
just,
down and play.
they're different. So I tried, because I panicked a lot and I was very sad and I was depressed and I
Oh,
was,
this is going to help a lot, this book.
so it's just what happens and how you deal with it, because you can deal with everything and it's not the end.
Yeah.
But I explain it so people don't panic as I did. So basically, I'm done with it, almost done. So that's my project, which I think is important, because so many people reach out to me. You have no idea. I mean, people get hurt, but
Well, in the profession, I'm thinking of a violist I know, for example, and she started to have the tendonitis and all the troubles that string players encounter, and she did exactly that. She went ahead and looked at it and worked through it, and then started doing classes to help people.
Ah,
And as you know, lots of musicians, in her case, string musicians, came to her. They were just desperate because they had never had this experience. They needed someone to tell them of their own experience and how they got through it. So it's fabulous. You'll keep in touch with me on that.
yeah,
It's
I'm doing that, and do another CD will come out soon. Totally different.
son of a gun. Is it going to be easier for you? I mean,
Maybe technically, maybe yes.
oh.
Otherwise, no.
Oh, interesting. So I'll quit prodding you for with questions, but I think I have an idea of that you are in a certain niche of pianists who know how to play contemporary music. I'm thinking, and so therefore it might be easier. Well, what
This
it?
will not be
Oh,
contemporary.
really?
Oh
Okay.
no, 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 no. This will be very straightforward repertoire that is harder in a way because you can compare me to 1,000 other
Yeah,
people
yeah,
and
yeah.
say,
How true.
well, you don't, somebody
Yeah,
else.
yeah. How true. How
So
dangerous. John, what was his name? Jonathan Phillips is a British pianist, and
mhm.
he has put out a Chopin CD and I should know better because I'm reviewing it. Anyway, that Chopin and Bach. But
Uh-huh.
he has also reached a point where he's saying, enough of this. It's taken many takes. I've played this music as well as I will ever play it in the rest of my life. Ready? Turn on the recorder. Plays the entire program through, and then does it another time, and then
I agree. Well, just like the Formas del Tiempo, this one will be live as well. I mean, it's done. It's live. Everything is live. I don't want any, because you can do so much with computers now. There's no point.
now that you mention it, and in fact, the point really might be to get back to live performance. That's what Phillips is saying. He's saying, I'm in the studio all right, but I'm going to do
But you can just play.
I'm just going to play.
There's
Exactly right.
something. If there's one note, yes, somebody can fix it. But you want that feeling of playing for someone. You want to perform. You want it live. It's got to be alive.
Yeah, and it's just like your complaint about the last piece on this CD, which is it's a little too compartmentalized when you're all stuck in a
Yeah.
metronomic thing, and yet it comes off gloriously. So fabulous. Oh, okay. I guess it's time to quit. What a wonderful talk. I knew it was going to be fun. We had fun last time when we kind of got started and then it all kind of fell apart. Thanks very much. I've been speaking, of course,
Thank
with
you.
pianist Elena Klionsky. It's about your 2022 MSR Classic release of the piano music of Martin Matalon, Formas del Tiempo.
Perfect.
Thank you. Four wonderful, hugely complex, incredible pieces. And if this is the comeback CD, I mean, flawless playing, brilliant playing of some of the most difficult writing for piano in the modern repertoire, really. So, congrats. I guess we're done.
Means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great pleasure. We'll see you in time. You'll be chasing me for a review. I know that. So, okay. First, I'll get the video up. That's the most important thing. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.